Hi everybody, Benita here with my June forecast. I pulled the card that's the significator for this month, and I'm just going to get out all these lovely die. All right, let's see how things go for this month. There's so many die. Ooh, we had one blend right in the middle of the core, and everything stayed on the mat today, so this is going to be busy and interesting. So the first thing we're going to do is look for the fate die, which always changes things a little bit. Okay, so the fate die is showing up under the present, and it's showing up as 777. So it's the face of great success and potential fortune. I love that it's showing up in the present. That's great. Can be a good omen of things to come. All right, so in this case, it doesn't mean we move any other die off or around on the mat, which is usually what happens with the fate die. So, yay, we have a good fortune one to start off with. Excellent. All right, so let's look at the chaos die and see what it has us doing, because that's the other one that sometimes affects where things sit on the page. All right, it's showing up under the past, and it is showing up. Let's find the symbol here. As entropy, which is great decay. It affects all things differently. So entropy at its core is chaos, things shifting into disorder and randomness. It's the element of uncertainty. Um, the lead from what is known to that which can't be known. In a reading, it makes changes in the area it lands in. So because it's landed in the past, it suggests that the chaos, the disorder that we've dealt with is in the past, which means we get to leave that behind. So excellent. All right. So where we're at right now is we have the good fortune card in the present. We have the disorder in the past. So this is a very good start to our month of June. And as you know, if you tuned in last month, there was a lot of really intense stuff happening for me. And we're going to see how things work out instead for June. So our actions die. Let's find it. And it is showing up where today? Okay. It is showing up under fated. And it looks like this. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for tuning in. So you can see it's somebody with a sword run through them. So that's showing up under fated, and it's about sacrifice. So it's saying in most cases it speaks to something that we don't want to do, but it's giving us something, giving something up that we don't want to, but it's typically for the better. And it's intentional. So this isn't an accidental loss. This is something that you go, I'm going to have to give that up. I'm going to have to let go of this. In the end, it's for my own good. So it's saying with this situation, for us to move forward, there's something we're going to have to let go of. And sometimes that's actual material things, and sometimes it's preconceptions, ideas we had about what we thought we wanted, that if we can let go of that, what we really need can show up. So far, as far as I'm concerned, that's looking good. Yes, there's something you're going to have to give up. Might be a preconception, might be something material, but you realize in the end it's necessary for you. Sometimes it's giving up a bad habit. Sometimes it's saying this is the time where I really need to start taking action on taking better care of myself or doing that thing that I've been putting off. So it's just saying that's basically what that's going to be about. The alchemist die is showing up way over here under foundation, and it looks like that. And it is Mercury, and it's basically about things shifting. So it speaks to something being really fluid and flexible and able to take whatever shape it needs at whatever time. So because it's showing up under foundation, it's saying this is a time of fluidity, this is a time of growth. You're leaving behind the disruptions from the past. And now, because it's also sitting right above the present on the mat, it's saying this is a time for shifting, for fluidity. Don't get stuck in old ways. Start to shift towards something new. And next we have the alley die. And it is showing up as, again, also in the present. And it's this little dude with the top hat. And it is about performance. So it's saying it's how we perform ourselves, our names, our identities. Its performance itself is valueless. It does not impart good or bad things. It's just saying there's some action you need to perform. So it's showing up in the present. Don't forget, it's also with the good fortune die. So it's saying there's things you're going to need to do, but ultimately, again, it's reinforcing that they're good for you. So changes are afoot, but right now June is looking really good in terms of what needs to be accomplished. The attentions die shows up next. It's showing up under history, and it looks like this. It's a hole. And so it's saying it speaks to the subconscious, the things we try to forget, or even things we intentionally throw away. I don't want to look at that anymore. The fact that it shows up under history suggests that there are things that we're just pushing into the past now, done with it, don't want to look at it. I'm over that. Okay? The autumn die is a barrel. Never seen this face come up, actually. Showing up under fated. And it's about stores. So it says, tells you it's time to gather and prepare for the end of autumn. Set aside more than you need to make it through an upcoming dry patch. So basically, it's not an omen of bad things to come. It's just saying, be prepared. So sometimes when, things are low, you don't have everything you need. If you've got a good storehouse of supplies, of money, what have you, you can get through that time. So it's showing up under fated to say, there's good fortune coming for you, but don't be stupid about it. Keep saving, keep putting your resources aside. It's going to allow for that fluidity we saw in the present. So if you need to move things around, you need to rebudget, you need to change your plans, it's easier to do if you have resources. So it's saying take care of those resources. Don't be foolhardy. All right, we've done the chaos die already. The elements die. So the elements die shows up as the scythe, also under the present. And it's coming up as metal. So it's in a reading, metal is will made manifest or forged into a tool, strength in working in craft and in use. Be implacable but remain sharp. So it's saying that it's about having a particular task to do and at making sure you're really good at that task. So it's showing up under the present along with the performance and the good fortune card, basically saying, if you will apply yourself in the present, work really hard at the things that you're really good at, you're going to have good fortune. So in other words, it's saying good fortune's coming your way, but don't be passive about it. Take the opportunities presented to you, use them, work with them, activate them, and you're going to find success. All right. Fate die, we've already done. The Goblin die. I always love the Goblin die because it's just so darn cute. It's showing up under the past, and it's this little goblin kind of hiding behind the wall, or so it seems. And it's normality. So it's on the die phase implied to be about physical form or appearance, but that's not always the truth. It can be abnormal thought processes. So because it's showing up under history, and we also had that hole, it's saying those old dysfunctional ways you've behaved in the past or you've thought, you've thrown them in that hole. It's part of your history. You're not to bring that forward. So if you do find that you have subconscious patterns that keep acting as stumbling blocks for you, you think you're going to do something and maybe you quit before you made any real change, or you get overwhelmed, or you put yourself down and talk yourself out of it. Those are those old core patterns that are operating your whole life that hold you back. So it's basically saying, don't bring them forward. And if you can't help it, if you don't know why you're doing things that self-sabotage or stop you from following through on, then let's do some work together, because that's my area of expertise. That's something that I can help you with. Okay. So now, if we go to our next die, the influences die. And that one is also showing up under history. It looks like this. And that one is the wobbly wheel. Again, this is another face that's never come up when I've done a reading, so this is kind of fun. It shows good intentions that are a bit off, but honestly do their best to be supportive and helpful. It represents something or an influence that needs to be updated or replaced eventually, but is inherently there to support. So because it's showing up under history, it suggests that there are times that, you might have had these challenges in the past that didn't work for you, possibly from somebody with good intentions. So it might be that, for example, your parents had the best of intentions, but things went wrong. There was dysfunction. It didn't work for you. And it's saying, leave it in the past. Don't dwell on it. We can dwell on what we think went wrong in our childhood and how we think that it put us back because these things weren't done the way we wish they had been. Or we can let go, forgive, and say, what have I learned from that? How do I work with the core patterns that are still stuck there so they can come forward? And again, that's my expertise. So if you need any help with that, we can do this work together. But basically what it's saying is realize everybody's doing the best they can with what they know so far. And yes, there's dysfunction from the past, but don't hang on to any anger about that. That doesn't move you forward. That just keeps you stuck in the past. So, do your best to let go. And instead of dwelling on what other people did that affected you, instead start asking yourself, what coping mechanisms developed as a result? And are they helping me to cope, or are they holding me back? And if they're holding you back, they can be brought to consciousness and help you shift so that that energy now gets freed up to move with you in the direction you actually need to go now, so that you're not stuck in the past, so that you're not dealing with things in a way that no longer works for you. Okay. The kindness die. So that shows up as a hand holding a present, and it's showing up under momentum. So it's forward movement, and it says gifted. So gifted in a reading announces itself. Either it is something you've graciously gifted to another, or it might be the need for you to do so. It's the thankless favor without expectation of reimbursement or returns. So in other words, it's saying, it's showing up under the future. Oh, thank you, Sandy. She says, I always appreciate your monthly reviews. I appreciate you. Thank you. So the gifted one, what it's saying is, as you're moving forward, you want to move out of that old pattern of, I'm so upset because I was treated this way, or I didn't get the best opportunities growing up, or what have you, and start to move more towards altruism. What do you need to give to others? And one way of looking at it is, when you think that way, you start to move away from seeing yourself as in any way disadvantaged or lacking. And you start to think instead, I have something to offer others. Even if it's just, this is what I learned from my experiences and how I'm overcoming them that might help somebody else. So that you're growing into that maturity that moves away from just total self-reflection and navel gazing to, how can I support people around me? How can I offer something without needing to get anything back, without needing to get validation or recognition either, because that still harkens back to that little kid inside us who's hurt and needs that validation. We're maturing into a place where we don't need that anymore. It's enough just to know that we gave something and that felt good. Okay. Our next die is the longings die. And we find that one as in the past, and it looks like somebody holding the world. And it's called held tight. A need to stop all motion and simply rock in place in someone's arms. It might be a need for a break, a need to relinquish control, a need to be taken care of, and can be all of these things. So in the past, again, it harkens back to, oh, I feel I need nurturing. Oh, I need healing. I need these things. It's showing up in the past because we're now letting go of that. It's saying, I've done the work so that I know how to nurture myself. I know how to ask for help if I need it. I now have something to offer based on all this growth I've been doing. I don't need to just say, poor me, somebody take care of me. I can balance that with, I'm here for you, you're here for me, we take care of each other. It's a more mature approach that you're moving into now. Okay, and the majors die is, where do we have it today? It's being sneaky and hiding on me. I didn't think anything fell off the table, but I don't see it here. So maybe it did. Oh, found it. Under future. And it's like these two figures that one's upside down. They're reaching for each other. Hi, Tanya. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate everybody popping in tonight. That's awesome. Um, in the future, it's called loss. And it says it's just part of where something goes away forever and it cannot be gotten back. Doesn't necessarily mean death, it's just a loss. So it's showing off in the future. And the sense I have with it is more of this, don't hang on to things. My sense about our going forward is one of maturation, which means we're not guarding against loss. We're not trying to hang on to anybody or anything out of fear of loss. We just accept it's part of life. So we stay present. We enjoy what's in front of us or who's in front of us and connecting with them. And we just accept we can't control for loss. It's going to happen. So we're not dwelling on it. We're just accepting it's part of the story of life. Again, there's a lot of balancing, a lot of maturing here. You're not hanging on to anything. You're letting the ebb and flow happen. Oh, this comes to me. Welcome. How wonderful. Oh, it's time to give energy. There you go. And you're just part of that ebb and flow. Okay. So the mariners die. We get this bird in flight showing up in the future. And it's called gull. It's a seagull. And it's basically saying um, it's a form of freedom. And it manifests especially as simply the freedom to be, just to simply be who you are. So in the future, again, it's that sense of settledness, that sense of just so, like, yeah, I can just be present and observe, take action when I need to, but I'm not acting out of fear. I'm not acting out of clinging. It's just, oh, okay, that's what's required now. I'll put that out there. There's a very settled energy to the future for the die that I've seen so far. There's a groundedness of just accepting sometimes things in life will be gritty or difficult, and that's okay. It's just letting things be what they are. All right. And we get to the Metamorphosis die, which is sitting just nudging into the future here. This one's a little harder to see, but it's a chrysalis. There you go. Okay. So with the chrysalis, it's the moment when no one can see what you're doing, but you know that you're hard at work on yourself, your work, your project, whatever it is. And this is often when the most radical changes are occurring. So it's not always an overnight change, but it's a deep change. So again, we're looking at the future here. So remember, from the present, it said there's some things you really need to hone your craft, you need to perform, you need to do the tasks necessary for you to have good fortune. And that lays the foundation for you doing some deep internal work in the near future. But it's not about anybody else needing to see it or needing to validate it. It's just your work to do, and you're doing it. Just going about the daily business of life of getting the spiritual work done. Okay, so the next one we come to is the obstacles die. It's showing up in the future as well as a clock. And it says yet to come. So when it shows up in a reading, it views time as the thing keeping you from things you want, as explicitly as a barrier as it can be. Things are not yet in the right place. Nothing's quite ready. This is not a notice that we need to take more time to think things through, or necessarily that we need to do anything in particular at all. It's merely time itself as the barrier. We must wait, for things are not merely given at our whims. So it's showing up in the future. Again, it's saying that there are things to do. There's a lot of deep internal work in the immediate future. It's going to have to take the time it needs to take. You can't rush the internal work. But once you do internal work, remember, we live in a quantum universe. Everything around us is a reflection of our consciousness. So once we do the internal work, things externally can shift. So don't get attached to things externally shifting at a certain length of time. It can't really shift until you've done the internal work. And in the near future here, it's all about that sense of maturity. You're not clinging to anything. You're not acting out of fear. You're accepting, for example, that loss is part of life. You're just moving with it. But you're sitting down and you're doing that deep internal work. That's why we got the chrysalis. Deep internal work for whatever amount of time it needs to take. When there's a shift, you'll know. And you'll notice the energy will then be freed up for forward movement. But don't push for the forward movement. Just sit, center yourself, let go of the external, do the inner work. When the shift occurs, the doors are going to open for you. You won't have to lean on them. Okay, the relations die. And this one shows up as it's under fated. Oh, thank you, Sherry. Sherry says, welcome to the island, beautiful one. Mwah, thank you. I'm loving it here. My husband and I are so happy. We're just pinching ourselves. So I'm sitting in our den right now and I'm looking out at just green. It's awesome. We're thrilled to be here. So under fated, we've got these two little figures kind of snugged up against each other, and it's called together. So together, face makes no value judgment. It speaks to the relation of two or more people gathering together. So it relates to a group of people who are close or interconnected. So what it suggests is under fated, and it's really important to remember this. Sometimes there will be loss. Sometimes there will be challenges. You're meant to work in community. Part of maturation is that you don't go off and isolate yourself and have a pity party or beat yourself up. You do the inner work. You're supposed to be offering energy as well as receiving, and you work in community. So if you're really struggling with something, you reach out to your coaches. You reach out to the people who can support you through it. You reach out to your family and friends. You let them know, hey, I'm having a hard time with something right now. I could use a good ear. I could use some support. I could use some advice. And you make sure that you're also available to the people who need it from you. Remember what Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home. So you make sure you're in this together with the people that you're resonating with in your life. And if that doesn't happen to be family, I personally believe family are the people we resonate with, not necessarily the ones we were born to. So find your tribe. All right, we have the spring die, and the spring die has shown up right in the core. So when it shows up in the core, there's a lot of significance with that. So this die means whimsy. And it says in the core of a reading, whimsy represents an absolute period of time or place where others exist at the whims of another. It's to be understood that all the dice in this reading come back to this and at their core only exist because of this person shifting things to be the way they desire them. So I'm going to look at this a little differently because I don't want you thinking victim mode. Somebody is turning my crank here and ordering my life. Because of the die that have shown up so far, my sense is this die this time is about the intent you placed to do the work. And everything is organizing itself for that. Remember, in the history here, it's saying there were challenges, there was disruption, there were problems, but you're to leave them in the past. Forgive, let go, move forward, do the work that needs to be done to create good fortune now. And remember, we also had one under Fated saying, watch your resources so that you have resources so that you can then move into this future area where you're offering energy as well as receiving it, where you're doing deep internal work in order to move forward. And you're accepting loss might be part of your reality too, but the one that's about freedom is it's the freedom to just be who you are, accepting reality as it is, and not adding pain to your pain by saying it should be different. Things are happening exactly the way they're supposed to, always do. That's the way the universe works. Under Suits die, also in the future, we have this I. And the I is called null. So it's an empty space between the suits. So it says this, basically it means that this reading means what it means. There's no hidden context. So in other words, this is a very plain, straightforward reading. It's saying, and if you've watched my other forecasts, you'll see we did a lot of deep, intense work over the last ever so many months. And last month was a really hard month for a lot of people. A lot of stuff got pointed out and brought to the surface. So this month is about saying, okay, leave the past in the past. Get to work on the things you need to do right now because you're moving into a maturation phase that's going to be deep internal work. And you're going to need the resources to do that. You're going to need the time to do that. All because you placed intent to get the work done. No more goofing off. Time to get to work. So now we have the summer die. And the summer die shows up in the past as this goblet. You see that there? And we shall see what that one means once I find it. So for you who have not seen this set before, it's the Publishing Goblins Oracle dice set. This is the second edition. It's amazing. I love to use it for forecasts because it tends to be quite spot on and lots of fun to work with too. So this is about excess, and it's basically, it can be excess in anything. Eating, drinking, drugs, overindulgence in self-pity can be another part of it. It's showing up in the past. What did I say about this spread? This is about maturation. No pity parties, no slacking off, saying, okay, I learned a lot from that. It's in the past. I'm going to build on that foundation. And I'm going to do what needs to be done now to create success and to start maturing. That maturity is, there's no push-pull. It's, okay, these things need to be done and I'm going to get to them. Our winter die is also showing up under Fated. And again, it's interesting. It's another face I've not seen before. So it's a little cameo. And it's called Memento. It symbolizes this understanding of our time in this world and its finite nature. Memento is contemplative space, often relating to us thinking back on times we have since passed and what's ahead. So again, the contemplation aspect is saying very much this month is about contemplation. It's accepting and being very grounded about what's going on, doing the inner work. Don't let yourself get distracted through pity parties or indulgences or, oh, that person needs me, when maybe they don't. You have to kind of check in with yourself. Am I really needed right now, or am I using this person as a distraction? sit and do the inner work. Get serious about that. The wounds die also shows up in the future. You see this wounded hand, and it's called cut. It suggests that there will be pain. The severity of the pain and the type will often depend on where it ends up. So because it's ending up right next to the chrysalis, which is about the deep internal work, I see it as this is your opportunity to sit with your pain. A lot of times when people first go to meditate, they're excited because, oh, this is going to be special and I'm going to have these amazing experiences. And if you go deep enough, at some point, you encounter pain or discomfort. And that's usually when people go and get themselves distracted and do anything but meditate. But if you can sit with your pain, if you can examine it, if you can observe it, you could ask yourself, how far back does this go? And when did I first start feeling this? What does that part of me need? What does it need me to know? I've got ways to help you tune in on the part of you sitting in your subconscious, having that pain. So it doesn't get covered up. It gets brought to the surface and processed and brought to consciousness so that it's no longer sitting in that old cycle anymore. And it can start using its energy constructively in your life. Okay. So I ended up with this card, and I just have to find it in here because this card is the one that rules the spread. And for some reason, I did not come across it. So I'm going to have to take a moment and find it. So the individual who put this together, their name is Seven, and they created the first mat, which only has the one side, and then a whole bunch of die, and they involved different artists. So each die was created by a different artist. So it's quite the collaboration. And this mat is two-sided, and it's got more die than the original set and the beautiful wooden box as well. It was done as a Kickstarter. So it's something that I've been with since the first Kickstarter, and I just love it. So if you are able to find it, you want to look for Publishing Goblin's Oracle Dice Set. I don't know if it's still possible to get it. I can only tell you that I love it, and I use it every month for this purpose, and it's always been bang on. And I'm not sure why I have not found this card yet. That's really interesting. So I might just have to, yeah, we're going to use this a little bit differently. So I'm basically just going to show you the card and give you my sense of it. So my sense with this card is this is somebody who has played with a lot of different tools, tried a lot of different things, gotten themselves confused because they've been skating the surface rather than going deep on what they need to work with. And because the eyes are covered and they actually appear to be covered by a butterfly, which is the symbol of transformation, the sense is that they're laying down the tools, they're going inward because that's where real transformation occurs. So coaches like myself can tap into your subconscious, tell you what's going on in there, give you tools to work with to help you transform unconscious patterns that disrupt your life into conscious patterns that have wisdom, intent, aim, that will actually lend energy to you, creating the life you were actually meant to have. But all the tools we give you don't do anything if you don't apply them. So when you come to see me, I'm going to tap in. I'm going to get exactly what your subconscious wants you to know. I'm going to work with the cards. I'm going to work with my ability to see your chakras, my ability to tune into your subconscious, to hold a mirror up to what's happening inside of you, and then give you specific ways to work with it so that you start to undo all that old programming so that you can have the life you were actually meant to have. So that's my sense going forward with this month is you start to get really serious about this inner work. It's no longer about whimsy. There's nothing fancy or, explosive about this month's work. It's just saying, okay, you're leaving the past, disruptive stuff in the past. You're going to do the work to go forward, and you're going to get really grounded in it, but make sure you have the resources to do the work. So if you have to do some deep inner work and you need to do extra external work right now to lay aside enough money to either work with a coach or take some time off, like take a weekend retreat, whatever it is you need to do, take this seriously and invest in yourself and get the job done. June is really feels like it's laying the foundation for something special going forward. It's very much about maturation, being mindful that we all have this work to do. Feeling sorry for ourselves doesn't do a darn thing for us. We need to move forward and get the work done. So that's what I'm getting for June. And I just wanted to share with the folks who are watching. I will come on tomorrow morning and do some free mini readings. So do pop back in and see me then. I'll be in here at 9 a.m. to do that with you. And also for my Kelowna folks, I'm going to be back into Kelowna for a couple of days, mid-June. It's the Monday and the Tuesday. I believe it's the 16th and 17th. I will post it with this video. I still do have some sessions open. So if you do want to see me in person and you're in Kelowna, you're going to have a couple of days mid-June to book me. You can't do it through the website because now I'm booking all in Nanaimo and Island and everybody who can reach me here through the website, unless you're booking a Zoom call, of course. But if you want to see me in person in Kelowna in June, please phone me. I'll put my information up on this post, and I'll let you know what slots are still available. So I look forward to seeing you. And for those of you who pop in tomorrow morning, I look forward to seeing you then and pulling some cards for you. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.